Intelligent talk that's sure to raise the IQ.
Here's Guy Wehman, Ben Brunson, and Frank Vernuccio, Inside the News.
We are now back with our third segment of Inside the News, and there is some really, really good news that happened just within the last few days. And we're talking about what's going to be transpiring at the Republican National Convention coming up. And these are what they call their planks. They're basically their issues that they're going to be on. And we've got Ben Brunson with us and Frank Vernuccio. My name is Guy Wehman. Real quickly, I'll go through the first five, and then we'll get through all of them eventually. But seal the border, number one. Carry out the largest deportation operation, end inflation, make America dominant energy producer, stop outsourcing and then turn the United States into a manufacturing superpower, large tax cuts, defend our Constitution. That's just the top seven. Frank, this is good stuff.
Yeah, it certainly is. Of course, it has to be implemented, and to be implemented, the election has to be won. It changes, of course, from 2020 when the Republican Party did not have a platform at all. And in the break, the three of us were talking about that. And it reflects the fact that Trump now has control of the Republican Party. Basically, he was a man isolated in his first term. The Democrats, of course, wanted to practically lynch him, and the Republicans were not there to defend him at all. Now, however, with the Republicans, I think, united at this point, and I think also with the country having seen what the Democrats do when they have power and how horrible the country turned with massive inflation, energy problems, a collapsing foreign policy, extraordinary danger from abroad. I think now the Republicans, led by Donald Trump, have the opportunity to really implement an agenda expressed mostly in this platform that would really help out America, an opportunity they did not have in 2016.
Okay, Ben, you're the economic guy. There's one on here that says, let's make the currency of the United States the dominant currency around the world. That's a good thing.
Well, it's a very good thing, and you get it by having the dominant economy in the world. And this economy can grow at 3 to 4%. If you remember under the Obama years when we were living with an economy for 8 years that grew at 1.5% to 2%. Let's call it 2% to be fair. That was the growth rate. And all I heard on the press, the left-stream media, was, well, that's the new maximum rate of growth that an economy can achieve that's as mature as the U.S. economy. All that is complete nonsense. It's a complete bunk. Donald Trump came into office and we saw an economy growing north of 3% again up until the pandemic. We're going to get back there very quickly. And it comes from having the right policies, from getting rid of regulations, which put a wet blanket over entrepreneurship, having the right tax policies, lowering marginal tax rates, making sure that you have a good tax policies across the board. Fighting back the dumping that goes on out of China on a regular basis. These are all parts of it. But going back to the core issue, if you go back to when Donald Trump took over in Washington, the Republican Party was led by Paul Ryan and guys like Mitt Romney, and they hated Trump almost as much as the Democrats did. And it left Donald Trump truly isolated, as you guys mentioned. Today is totally different. I'll point to Marco Rubio as a perfect example. 7-8 years ago, Marco Rubio was very standoffish when it came to Donald Trump. He was very non-committal. Right now, he is 100% on board behind Donald Trump, and he may very well be the VP candidate. As we record, we don't know who that is, but he's certainly on the short list, and that is a complete sea change. So Donald Trump, I made this point off air. His second term, assuming he wins in November, will be dramatically more important and meaningful because he was out of office for 4 years than if he had been reelected 4 years ago, because he still faced a deep state that he didn't quite realize how deep it was. And there is no illusions left anymore as far as that's concerned.
Wow, what a tremendous point, because now he knows what warfare is and actually lawfare is what I was trying to allude to there. And Frank, you've had a chance to just kind of look over these 20 different points, and I'm sure that there's one that strikes out to you, maybe the defense of our country there. And he actually puts down there, stop World War III.
Yeah, and of course that's the direction we are heading in. And everyone from Donald Trump to Tulsi Gabbard and independent observers are all talking about the possibility of walking into World War III. Serious wars can start not necessarily through plans, but through errors. We look at World War I and how the world devolved into World War I, basically through a series of misconceptions and a lack of understanding of where the whole thing was going. We're looking right now in the Pacific. We talk about World War III starting, with an attack on Taiwan. I am one of those who believe that we could blunder into World War III through a Chinese-Philippine conflict. The Chinese have been taking territory, offshore territory from the Philippines for quite some time. It started under the Obama administration. President Obama refused to launch even a diplomatic protest when the Chinese attacked the offshore exclusive economic zone of the Philippines. The Chinese got the impression from that, and perhaps an accurate impression, that the United States was not going to intervene to protect its allies in the Indo-Pacific. At some point, though, they will push too far. And the United States, if there's a Biden administration, will have to make one of two decisions. It'll have to decide, okay, that's it. We're just giving the Indo-Pacific to China. Or they'll have to say, this has gone far enough. We have to launch a counterattack against Chinese naval vessels in the Philippine area. And there you have the start of World War III, with Chinese and Philippine ships attacking each other and spiraling out of control. Weakness is a danger. Weakness leads to more war than strength does. And that's exactly the situation we've been in. So having a strong defense plank in the GOP platform is a way of preventing war, not a way of encouraging it.
And Ben, going back to what we wanted to talk about in number two here, China, they're watching Biden right now. They're watching what's going on with Trump, and they've got their eyes set on Taiwan.
Well, they do, and they're very focused on Taiwan and committed to reunification of Taiwan. And they have come to the conclusion, as is obvious, that the Taiwanese people will not voluntarily reunify with China. That ship has sailed. The Chinese strong handling of Hong Kong, they promised Hong Kong to have a special legal and economic status for 50 years after reunification. That lasted a couple years, and Hong Kong has been completely subjugated to the strong hand of Beijing, and everyone in the world watched it happen in real time. And the Taiwanese know it. So there is no peaceful unification that's ever going to happen. And the Chinese Communist Party understands that. So they're looking for the time and opportunity. The only thing that stands between them and the invasion of Taiwan is the U.S. military. And that is just the reality. And it's hard to be weaker than we are right now. We're on a slippery slope, and weakness is the grease on the edge of that slope. And we show nothing but weakness and fecklessness everywhere in the world in which we operate right now under this administration. So the next few months, to state it mildly, very dangerous time.
Sleds and toboggans on this slope, well, they're not available for sale because we want the cannons. We want to stop this thing. Well, we're going to take a time out. Should we have a free and fair election? We'll be back to discuss it. Wehman, Brunson, and Vernuccio.
You're listening to Wehman, Brunson, and Vernuccio, Inside the News.